Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Very serious.
Non-human intelligence exists. UAPs are real. They're here, and they're not human.
Do we have the bodies of the pilots?
Biologics came to some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
What else you want to know?
$7 was...
Welcome back to Across the Pond. It has been a while since we've done something on here, but for today I have another amazing guest for you here on Across the Pond, the podcast that dares to uncover the mysteries lurking beyond the veil of reality. From government cover-ups and secret experiments to hauntings, cryptids, and UFO encounters, or UAP encounters, I guess I should say. We explore the unexplained and the conspiracies that keep them hidden. And with everything that has been going on and lately, less and less of these conspiracies actually stay hidden, which is great, which is just great. Gives us a lot of material to talk about. I am your host, Stijn Fox, third of Across the Pond, of course, together with UAP Lee and our fine host, Dr. Not As Evil, or so he claims. I am here with my guest for tonight, Witch Dragon. Yeah, we have some we got some stuff to talk about. We connected a while ago on Twitter, and there's a lot that we can talk about, but for tonight the topic is really more appropriate for Across the Pond, hence we are here. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. For those who may not be familiar with you or your work just yet, introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? What's your secret?
All right. Well, hello. Like I said, my name, you said, sorry, I'm so used to announcing myself. My name is Witch Dragon. I have my own podcast, which is not as popular as the host's podcast, of course, but hopefully that'll change. The show that I host is the One Drunk Ho podcast, where I talk about a whole lot of things. I'll summarize current events to reading articles or things online about different deities and so on, vlogging about my own experience, past and present. If you want to think about it, it's more like a little bit like a variety show, but like a vlog show, kind of like slightly modeled after like Sex and the City, except more on vlogging and podcasting. So in short, and I do reviews, so that's kind of like what my show is about, in short.
Well, that sounds great. I still have to check it out. Loving the name though.
Thank you.
It's very, very honest, I'll
Yeah.
say. So yeah, like what is the topic of today? I mean, I know already, but it's your
Yes.
story, so I'll let
Yes.
you introduce it, and it's
Okay.
why it's a story fit for Across the Pond, since we've done grooming gangs, NHS whistleblowers. This kind of falls in line with.
Got you. Well, it is I'm going to say this, if I may. It's definitely about CPS in my experience. I mean, listen, I'm no worker. I'm just talking about I'm going to say it as at least from my experience, a victim of it. I'm going to talk about that. But I also, like I talked with the host earlier, I can't, or at least I asked if I should leave out the more mystical parts of my experiences before and after it happened. But since I'm allowed to mention it, I'm going to mention it. But even if people don't understand that or don't believe it, hey, that's fine. The rest of it, there's still going to be enough mundane stuff in it where you can at least grasp it. I would hope. I'm going to hope. So hopefully I gave a decent intro to that, because I don't know how else to
That's
explain it except to do it.
no, that's good. CPS, Child Protective Services, something that I am not CPS yet, at least.
Yes.
I am also dealing with in my personal life at the moment with the mother of my children. We've been caught up in safe at home and possible CPS if all of this isn't gonna work out the way that it should. So this is also of interest to me, just as a person, as a father.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've all heard shady stories about CPS, about them taking kids from their homes with, well, let's say, I don't want to say made up, but fabricated stories or exaggerated stories. A lot of cases where more harm was done than good,
Yes.
protective services. Protecting who exactly? Most definitely not the children,
No.
and absolutely not the parents. Any damage to the parents is damage to the kids by extension as
Ultimately.
well.
Yes.
Something that I wish my baby mama would understand.
I wish a lot of people would understand that, frankly. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like I said, take the mystical part, what I'm going to go into, take that out of it. And a lot of what I'm saying, as I've been finding over the last 30 plus years, it's not a unique situation to me. I mean, take the rest of the extracurricular out, right? And I've been reading, and I admit I'm not objective. Let's just call it what it is. I'm biased. I think that's fair. But take my own bias out, even what you're saying, it's not just an isolated case with a lot of people. It's not, unfortunately. It's too many. Now, of course, obviously, of course, some do good. Even with my own, let's call it what it is, hatred. Even I'll say that. But at what cost? So, it's just something I'm throwing out there. So yeah, it's a whole lot, and that's me being nice about it. I'm trying to keep it as together as I can. Okay, girl, still affects me almost 30 something years. Well, actually, it does actually affect me since 1996. So I don't.
Has it been that
Yeah,
long already?
yeah,
Wow.
actually, yeah. You know, I guess we're just gonna jump into whatever. So I'm gonna give you everyone a disclaimer. If I backtrack on certain things and go, it may not be linear, so I'm going to apologize to everyone in advance for that. I'll try to make it as linear as I can, but if I don't, I'm going to warn y'all now. Yeah, it's a controlling side of me. So, but fair warning, I might dip back and forth between. So yeah, anyway. So let me just get right to it, if I may, of course.
Of course, of course.
Okay.
You've been warned. You've been,
Yes, yes.
So let's
Yes.
get into it. And linear
Okay.
or not, with the power of editing, I can make everyone look good, as I've
Okay.
told you
All
before.
right. Good, good, good. So at this point, I'm gonna stop worrying about it because I'm taking way too long. We don't got time for all that. People got lives. Okay. All right. So we're gonna go a little bit more present tense, and then we're gonna go back because you need to understand some of the present tense first. I know it's the other way around, but today we're going to do it this way. All right. Now I tried, maybe a very unsuccessfully, definitely, to get my records. You would think after age 18, and I'll tell you my age, I'm 46. So this happened in 1996, at least this time. And they still won't even give me copies of my records. Now, recently, as a friend suggested on TikTok, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I said it, so I guess you'll figure that out. For me to write them to see if I can see if what they would say answer. Now, short story short, basically they all kept saying no, but the only thing I've ever gotten, which is kind of different than I've ever gotten, is I can hypothetically talk to a judge and see if the judge will do it. And that's no guarantee that they'll do it. But as of what they've always told me over the phone and in letters, that they can't give me my records, even though I'm over 18. Over 40, let's call it what it is. Damn near 50. Well, I'm not 50, but I'm damn near 50. I'm 46. Let's call that what it is. I'm 46. So Why can't they let me see it? Their excuse over the phone one time was, it's because it's to protect the child, even though you're this old. I'm paraphrasing, but it's basically what was said. I'm like, in my head, that don't make no kind of sense. I'm over long past now. So, which is something that doesn't make sense to me.
It's been
Okay.
28 years since
Yeah.
you were 18. If it's a file that
Yeah.
concerns you, I mean, I would imagine that from age 18,
Right.
you would be, I mean, at least able to
Right.
see your file. I mean, it's your file.
Right. Exactly. I wish I was making that up. And again, I'm paraphrasing a lot, but that's basically the gist of what I was told. And it's like, of course, parents who've dealt with CPS have rights, and they should. That's not what I'm saying, just so we're abundantly clear. But from I'm going to say it, victim or child or former child, however you want to say, I'm going to say victim because I was a victim. Not to claim victimhood, 'cause I know that's a thing people like to do, but it is what it is. Anyway,
I mean, you can claim victimhood if you're an actual victim.
right. From my experience, I was. However, the problem is, and it's great that parents have more rights in it, us children, whether one considers himself a victim or not, hey, everyone's experience is different. Supposedly, without going through a whole lot of red tape, can't even look at the files. Again, I'm glad that parents have rights, but why don't we because when it's happening to us? Yes, on a different level than the parents, but it's still happening to us, whether one considers themselves a victim or not, depending on circumstance. Why can't we look at those files? Or if not get copies, but again, look at them, something after 18 or at least 20 something at minimum. So what's up with that is what I don't understand. Now, I don't know if that's really across the 50 United States or if it's just outside my area, New Jersey. I don't know, but it seems kind of odd. Just
I
saying.
I think it's a thing. I mean, at least across the Western world.
Probably.
As I've said, we've had NHS whistleblowers on as well, and
Okay.
that's very much UK based, of course. But I guess
Right.
you could
But similar
take the
concepts.
UK as a representative of
Yeah.
the
Absolutely.
greater Europe.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, it's definitely a thing in at least the Western world that for some reason you have to jump through all these hoops and indeed like cut through all the red tape to even get a semblance of an answer, and 9 out of 10 times it's not even the full answer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my belief is that either it's just perfected bureaucracy, because I mean, geez, gods know that bureaucrats, um, we over the last years we have really perfected that. Even our middleman have middleman now, if you will. Even middle
Mm-hmm.
management has their own form of middle management, and but I also think it is set up on purpose that way, because I mean you've been fighting for your records for something for the last 28 years, and
Yeah.
I applaud
Answers,
you.
anything.
Yeah, like anything.
Yeah, at this
You
point.
don't have anything. That's crazy.
Right.
And I do imagine that lesser people than you, they would have given up after what, a year, 2 years, after a dozen phone calls who tell them no, you got to be with that person, you got to be with that person, you got to wait for this, you got to sign that, you got to do this and all that. I imagine that any lesser man, any lesser woman would have given up long ago, and maybe that is why. I mean, that's one of my guesses, at least. Perfected bureaucracy in combination with it just being set up that way, because you're not supposed to have the answers. You're not supposed to know the truth, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Oh, there's still more for me to tell you. Let me tell you that's not the only thing. That's the gag of it all. I shouldn't laugh about it, but some parts are just become funny. Not haha, but funny.
At a certain point, all you can
Yeah.
do is laugh about it. It's a coping mechanism. I know.
Yeah, we're just scratching the surface, but I gotta tell you more of the present stuff before we go back to the past. So I figured maybe I should try suing. Not that I got money like that, but legal, you get the idea legally, whatever you can do. Regardless, now again, the good news is parents can do that. There's lawyers that help parents do that, which, hey, again, I'm happy about that. I'm not a hater, but if you really want me not to be PC about it, I'm a little bit pissed, not at them, but at the fact that most of these lawyers, again, not blaming them, but call it what it is, can't help the children who do consider themselves victims. So the lawyers, because I don't know who it is. I'll say secretary. She didn't tell me. I don't know the person's name, nor should I. But she did say another person who were in a similar situation. They was trying to do the same thing, but they couldn't help them. Is the basics of what I know. And it's like, okay, well, at least I know I'm not crazy. At least not specifically for this reason. Okay. So it's like it seems, don't have the ability to sue. Now, the only good thing about that is, to me, and I'm using quotation marks, is that at least they can't sue me for bad mouthing them, because then they would have to waste their time and their money to go after me. And by the way, there is no money with me, so good luck. So, and they would have
It's
to,
something, I guess.
yeah. I mean, it's not great, but it's something at least. So I can bad mouth them all I want. Now I don't know. I'll just say his first name just to be fair. David. I don't know because he's retired. From what I found out, surprisingly, they didn't mind telling me that. They might regret that now, but whatever. But David, I don't know if he could sue me privately because he's no longer working for them. But then again, from what I found out, people who actually have some sense that I know, luckily I have some friends who actually have some sense in their head, and people who worked in the law. But anyway, just to keep it lively, basically, from what I found out, most likely he can't sue me either, because if I've been talking about him and CPS for definitively since 1998, maybe 1996 when it happened, but definitively I've been on and off trying to make complaints since, I'll get to that in a second. Since 1998 for sure. It would seem kind of pointless to sue me because, as a friend did say, the judge would be like, why did you wait this long to sue him? He's been doing it this long. It's like, it
I
seemed
mean,
kind of pointless to go after
yeah,
me almost 30 years later.
if it's been 28, 30 years and he still
Yeah.
hasn't done anything, then I'd say you're in the clear.
Right, because I've been bad mouthing them and talking about them online and offline definitively since 1998. And I think they would have to prove slander, and I'm causing him, from what I understand, to lose money, and probably whatever employment he works for. They probably wouldn't care. They wouldn't care what some stranger is saying about their employee, I don't think.
Especially
And
after 30 years and something that has
yeah,
happened at the previous employer.
right,
It's no sweat off their back.
right. And CPS is going to take his side anyway. Hell, CPS is taking each other's side, so
Well, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of like the government investigated the government and found out
right.
that the government hasn't done anything wrong.
Right. So me, quote unquote, slandering, it would take a lot. And from what I understand from another good friend, again, I'm not mentioning their names because I actually care about them. Let's call that what it is. Did say that it's kind of hard for CPS to sue you because they have to prove you're damaging them or slandering. And I'm not going to cause them to lose money. I can't really damage them. So hard as I try, my bad mouthing ain't going to damage them. They're still going to exist. So,
And most likely, if they would like to sue, then they're gonna have to, as you said, prove that you're doing
right,
some damage, which probably would also mean releasing your records as
right,
part of their of their litigation, part of the process. That, hey, it's because of these things that they can't say that, and since they haven't been willing to release any documents over the
right,
last 28, 30 years, they're not going to do so now.
right. And exactly. And it's like, and I would, unfortunately, I don't mean to presume, but I can only speak from my experience. I could be wrong, and hopefully I am. But in my opinion, based on my experience, if people don't care about kids being kidnapped by CPS or whatever, I would think people are going to care about money being wasted suing someone like myself. I'll say I have no money. There's no money with me. What are you going to do? Take my electronics? They lose value the moment they get in my hand. Take my tarot cards, I have nothing unless you're going to take my dollar in crypto or my dollar investment in crypto from whatever on Amazon. Okay, yeah, okay, good. I'm being funny, but I'm being serious. I have nothing. So if you sue, you're wasting tax dollars money suing someone who has a grudge. Now, people may not believe me. That's fine. Everyone's entitled not to believe me. But if people don't care about past children or current children being taken, whether they should or shouldn't, they're going to, I would think, unfortunately, people are going to care about money and wasting tax dollars money going after someone who has a almost 30-year grudge. I'll call it what it is. It is a grudge. A justifiable grudge, but a grudge. So, yeah. As a quick sidetrack, I just want to say, I find it funny when people care about, oh, we can't have the kids being impressionable with, hopefully I'm allowed to say, drag queens and whatever, and all this other stuff. Okay, fine, that's your right to feel that way. I'm not here to criticize, by the way. I may not agree, but you have a right to feel that way, right? But you don't care about things what I'm talking about. Leave me out of it. How about current children with that? How about that? I would think that's more important, but hey, what do I know? I admit I'm biased, but hey, it doesn't mean my bias is
I
completely
mean,
wrong.
I'm gonna have to agree with that. Actually, like we're so worried about all these outside parties, minorities, and take minorities in the broadest sense that you
Yeah,
can
absolutely.
get them. I'd say that the drag king, drag queen community is a sort of a minority in of themselves.
Yeah.
My wife is friends with some drag kings and queens.
Oh, cool.
I believe on local radio here. I've been part of queer radio just because I got involved somehow. Like so, I got to meet some of those people, and I mean most of them are they're good people.
Yeah.
But yeah, we worry ourselves too much about these minority groups more than what the government is doing. I mean, I guess with the release of the Epstein files, hey, I guess at least somebody's files are getting released.
Yeah.
It's something.
Yeah. Yeah.
People
I'm
are
happy
now.
for them, I think.
Well, I mean, sure,
Yeah.
but people are now more up in arms about it, even though a lot of us in the truther or conspiracy occult community, whatever you want to call it, we've been telling y'all for decades like that this shit's going on, but you laughed at us.
Yeah.
It's like, well, fucking see. So I guess the one burning question, and I know you're getting to it, and you're setting the scene and all,
I'm trying.
which is great, which is absolutely setting the scene. It's been 30 years, or like however long was that on the Titanic? I mean, the 90s, they were different times.
Yeah.
I'm a 90s kid, born 1992.
Okay.
90s, early 2000s. For me, they were absolutely, that was peak humanity. What happened since? I mean, we slid off really.
Yeah.
But I also know technology wasn't as as developed yet. A lot of the documentation was still actual documentation. Things were logged different. But in your situation, in your case, what happened made you like what is so serious that 30 years later you're still holding a grudge? I mean, I've held a grudge against some people, but okay, yeah. Thanks. Love you too, Tim.
Love the cat.
Yeah, he always wants to be part of the show. Anyway, what happened? What happened to you?
Yes. We are getting to that. Okay. So just one more thing to backtrack from the this is where we get more to the past, and then we'll really get right to it, because I know you want to get to it, and I actually do too. I'm just trying to set it up. Because I'm trying to keep myself as calm as I can. Okay. All right. So going back to 1998, before we head back to 1996, y'all. Now, my first complaints I made was in 1998 after I rescued myself from hillbilly country. Now, for those of you who don't know what hillbilly country is, because I can't assume you know, because you don't know me like that, is Texas. I don't like Texas, and we will get to that. But so when I first rescued myself to come back home to New Jersey, I made my first complaint when I was 18 to CPS back when they were on a different street and I'll tell you that town, I don't care. Hackensack. Oh, okay. So basically, I made my first complaint in 1998, and the one gentleman who I forgot his name, which is probably just as well, was very nice. I will give him that. Even without my own bias, I have to give credit where it's due because that's the right thing, at least in my head. But there's one heifer, as I'm making a face, y'all. This one bitch, okay, I'm going to try and keep the swearing to a minimum, but this one person wanted to act like, well, how do you know, David, all this that happened to you was because of David and what he did, because no one ever made any complaints about him. Now, this is what I felt like saying. If I could go back in time, go back into my 18-year-old body, blah, 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 this is where we get weird, and felt like
Mhm.
cussing her the hell out, I would. I'm like, just because no one else ever made complaints about him, ma'am, doesn't mean he didn't do anything. I'm telling you what he did. The hell? Clearly, they didn't take my complaint seriously. Granted, this was 2 years at the time. So yeah, that was real fun for me as I
Great.
make a face. Imagine if you could see my face, I'm making a face. So yeah, that was fun. So now to answer your question,
Fine.
so now that you know some of the current coming into the past, now I really need to tell you how it all began. So I
Mhm.
really want you to understand, yeah, backwards to forwards. So let's get to the heart of the matter. This is where we're going to get a little bit in between ex- extracurricular, if you will. But
Mhm.
you were warned, so all right. Going back to when you were born, 1992. I was 12, going on 13. And because you have to understand why I'm telling this. It's part of it. I met this, well, man now, boy then, Jason, and he unfortunately changed everything. And of course, we didn't see each other for a year until when we were 13. And well, without being graphic, things, well, how do I say this in a classy way? Well, relations, if you will. Okay, that's the classiest way I know how to say it.
Relations is,
Yeah.
yeah, I
And
think that's quite universal.
yep, exactly. And it really did change everything. It really did change everything. Not altogether good, not altogether bad, but yeah, it really did change everything. And of course, my mother didn't know. Well, she probably did, but a whole bunch of things happened with that. And of course, after I tried confessing to my friend, bear with me. We're going to get back to the CPS part, but y'all have to understand the reason why I'm telling this. Let me cook, as the kids say, just a little bit. But things went down, as the kids say now on TikTok, down bad. It was down bad. Like I told my one friend about everything, and she wanted to have a big old discussion and involve him. I'm like, I felt like saying, bitch, this ain't about you. This is about me. Keep in mind, we're in 2 years later, 1994, right? So
Mhm.
that was real fun for me. Sarcasm implied as I'm making a face.
Sure.
Picture in 1994 might feel like my life is over. Yeah. And it was
Um,
as I
um,
knew it. I'm sure she meant well. She really couldn't believe Jason would I guess she really couldn't believe it for some reason. So, and after that, that's when I became even more of a secret, just to fast forward. And it's like, and I suppressed a lot of that after what happened. And I'm going to try and say this as gracefully as I can. Me and Jason didn't talk for a few months, which might have been a good thing looking back as an adult. But then he got Danny to come over to come get me. And it wasn't to play Tiddlywinks, that's for sure. And of course, in between, Danny left because Jason basically made threats about, how do I say this? Let's just say what happened in Law and Order, and you don't wake up. I'll say it like that. But the point is, he made threats, blah, blah, blah. And that's a nice way of putting it, y'all. And of course, this is where it gets to the basement. Well, because people don't know how to feel about me. They want to be mad at me and hate me at the same time, but yet still want to have relations, if you will. That's nice. Of course, when I told them to stop, oh no, of course not. That couldn't happen. Yeah, so that was real fun. So things changed, and that's when I suppressed. So everything changed that night. I changed. Well, I changed one of the many changes I had, which is great. Sarcasm implied, y'all. And then after that, since I suppressed it, and I guess I couldn't admit my real feelings for the mofo, it was just different after that, and not altogether bad. Mostly, now looking at it, bad. But what did I know? I was 14 at the time, which is
I mean,
not.
you still have, well, I mean, I don't want to say like good judgment at 14, but you know when something's good or bad
Yeah,
at 14. That is not something that, I mean, that is something that is universal.
yeah. No, I know. I guess it's just people nowadays. It feels like we treat teenagers younger than they are, and it's weird. Like we need to treat people their actual age if we can. If that made sense, and I'm sorry if I worded it kind of messed up, but I don't know how else
No,
to say it.
I get it. It seems that with the generations, we've become a lot more sensitive
Yeah,
about things.
right. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you. You cleaned up what I said very nicely. Thank you. But that's what
I
I was
try.
trying to say. And I did suppress it because I'm gonna be honest, y'all. My feelings for Jason were always very complicated, and I guess they still are to this day. So when I said there's some good things, not what happened in the basement, that's not good. But the in between and after parts of it were. Now most of it wasn't. So as things progressed over a year and a half, things started happening. Well, besides the basement thing, obviously. I was always my mother always encouraged my psychic ability, but I was always open to things. Probably more open to things that I probably should have expressed in school because most of them were I'm not gonna try to be nice. Douchebags. Hope I'm allowed to say douchebag on here. Uh
Yeah, I mean, if that's bad already, you should have heard some things that I'm saying.
yeah. So there's that. And I was always open to things, and maybe I should have kept some of that to myself. And like my mother would try to tell me to do, not to mention it in school. But well, apparently I have an honest streak. So I started to, as the term would most people use now, awakening. Not that I knew that in the 90s. Of course not. I found the dragon necklace,
It's all right.
but as I started to be drawn to this one dragon necklace that helped start another thing that changed me once again. I started experiencing, a red dragon, and my mom said she'd get the necklace if it was still there, and it was still there, so she got it. You know, and that's when it starting to begin again. That things were happening. I was starting to experience things with the red dragon. Quite frankly, I thought I was going crackers. Okay, y'all. I mean, say what you will, but I thought I was going cuckoo. I mean, that may not be the most politically correct thing to say, but it's the truth. I thought I was going nutty, and not in a fun way. So, yeah, that was real fun for me. Sarcasm implied.
I
Anyway,
bet.
uh-huh. Now, the gag of it all is as I was going to the nut house, again, I'm not the most politically correct, but I don't do it to be disrespectful to anyone else. I'm just talking about my experience, so I'm gonna say what it is for me.
Hmm.
Just so everyone gets that reminder, because I feel people will forget. But that being said, that being done, I thought I was going crackers. Let's call it what it is. Back in the Bergen Pines, they don't call it that anymore, so I'm totally okay with saying what the name was at the time. Bergen Pines, back in Paramus. Yeah, that was real fun. Mama didn't want me to go, of course, as mommy was trying to tell me. Without telling me, she knew what the hell was going on, but she didn't want to tell me there. The gag of it all is they did it without her consent. Now, yeah, that was fun. Yeah. Looking at it now as a parent myself, I don't know if they should have done that. I mean,
I don't
I
think they
guess
should. You don't.
I'm
You're not supposed to. I mean, unless it's a true, well, emergency situation, and even that
yeah, yeah.
is up for debate.
And that go ahead, I'm sorry.
Because like what is a true emergency? What really is that dangerous for a child, and I don't agree with a random adult who doesn't know the situation, who is just there a few times, and a lot of it is um you know from what others may have said. I don't agree with them, making those decisions. It's too easy. It's too
Yeah.
easy to just say like, oh, the child's in danger. We're gonna take them away and put them somewhere else, or the parents are bad parents. I mean, as I said, I'm sort of dealing with this myself at the moment, and as a father, it's 3 times as hard,
Yeah.
really. But yeah, I do believe that the decision to take the child away sometimes is made too easily.
Yeah. No, exactly. And now, of course, I think part of the problem, now looking at it, trying to hard to recall all this now thinking about it. Yeah, I mentioned I want kill myself, if you will. So
Hmm.
that might have been the reason. That probably didn't help now looking back, but still, the other stuff was debatable, where it should have been her decision. Well, technically both my parents' decision, but hers for sure. So there's
Yeah.
that. Of course, then again, I also and again, it's all easy to saying Monday morning quarterbacks. Sure. Yeah, I wish you would have told me more than what you knew at that time. Obviously, the hospital was not the best place to tell me, but yeah, I also feel like saying, "Yeah, see, I'm doing this. You see, they're going along with it." I'm gonna be like, "Listen, I know you got your own secrets to protect here, mom. Yeah, see, this is happening. I feel like you might have to tell me something." But again, that's easy for me to say as a teenager, and for her, it's a whole lot. I get it. So it's not fair for me to Monday morning quarterback, but it's kind of like, okay. Anyway, so
It's
after,
understandable.
yeah, exactly. I guess I try to look at it both sides. I'm not always good at that, but I try. But yeah,
I
so
mean,
going through
at least you try. There are
I
plenty of
try,
people who don't.
I try, and I didn't even know she was my actual mom at the time. Yeah, it's. Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that, and it is part of all of this. It just so everyone knows, I admit how everything I'm saying sounds like all separate stories, and they are, but they're also not. That's the thing. They all bleed together at some point. So, this is simmering right now, y'all. Simmering. Okay, so as I was going through the whole nut house process, blah, 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 meeting all these other kids who, well, everyone has their issues. I don't even have my issues outside of that, but it certainly caused more of it. And then, okay, I'm just gonna say, being gay and all, and back in the 90s, not that I knew I didn't say I was gay at the time, but let's call it what it is. I can say it now. It's almost 30 something years later, probably past now. Yeah, I can say the word. It's not a dirty word, y'all. It's not. But
It's
back in the
not.
90s,
Oh
it kind of
wow.
was. It's a funny joke. So it's not a dirty word. I mean, but it was more so in the 90s, apparently. And these little asshole kids, I'll say they're kids at the time. Not, yeah, I said what I said. The asshole kids were trying to make fun of all this. And it's like, truthfully, if you really want me to be honest, I probably look better than half of them now. And maybe not at the time, but these little assholes were basically knew I was gay. Not that I would admit it, but they knew I was gay. And they're just trying to make fun of me, little dickheads. You know, even nutty people can be dickheads. Anywho, I know, not the most politically correct, but it was what it
Well,
was for me. Yeah, go ahead.
some
I'm
kids
sorry.
are downright assholes.
Yes, yes. And
Kids
don't
can
get
be mean as fuck. Don't go tell people that, oh, they're just a kid. They don't know what they're doing. Some of these kids know damn well what they're doing.
yes, exactly. And don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna act like I'm some perfect little angel. I did things in my past, maybe not at that time, that I'm not proud of. So
We
I'm not
all
gonna
have
act
a past.
exactly. So I call them assholes, but I have my little asshole days too, and we'll get to that too. I may put people on the carpet. Oh, and I do. But I put myself in that carpet too because it's only fair. But they are dickheads. Anyway, so and dealing with the staff wasn't exactly easy either. Little anyway, and plus one of the intake questions, which still bothers me, at least for me, everyone feels different. One of that little person asked if I was gay. Keep in mind, 1994, I was not ready to come out to myself, let alone nobody. Okay. And I don't even after what happened with Jason, yeah, I was not ready to come the hell out. Okay, girl. I said no because one, in my mind, I wasn't. Yes, it was denial. I really did believe I wasn't gay. I know how that sounds. It's a thing. But again, this is 1994. We didn't have a lot of rights, even as a teenager. I didn't need them knowing I was having sex, consensually and not consensually. Let's call that what it is. I didn't identify as gay at the time. I just didn't. In my mind, I wasn't. Now, obviously, that's a fallacy, but it's what I knew to be true, 'cause that's all I could handle at that point. I could barely handle what was going on with seeing the red dragon up in here. Like, you gotta understand, this was 1994, and I spent my birthday in Bergen Pines, and I turned 15. Yeah, that was not exactly easy for me.
I mean, it was the
Yes.
90s. There were
Yeah.
different times. Being gay wasn't as accepted,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
And also, indeed, still very much used in a derogatory way.
Mhm.
Unfortunately,
Yes.
that was the 90s, early 2000s. Like everything that was weird or odd or
Yeah.
different of some kind was gay.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was a I mean, I don't want to say I don't have experience with this, but I don't want to say it was a bad time to be gay, but it wasn't as accepted unless you're some sort of celebrity,
Yeah. No,
and
you're right.
then still you had to have a beard, what's it called? Like a
Beard. Yeah. Beard.
lavender marriage, I
Yeah.
believe.
Either or.
We're
Yeah.
calling it now.
Yeah, but you're correct though. That's the thing. And it's like I'm dealing with seeing the red dragon. Again, being psychic mother and always encouraging. That's great and all, but to me, I thought I was going crackers. We got two things going on here, and it's like this bitch asking me if I'm freaking gay. Yeah, nowadays it may or may not be a big deal. I don't feel the need to always answer that in medical things. It's like to me, and call me paranoid. Yeah, I'm paranoid to an extent. I don't like what that always implies when even when medical people, even the best of intentions ask, but it's a little bit different now because I'm not necessarily in the closet, but I'm one of those people. I feel I'm not one of those gay people, gay men's that can pass for straight. I'm just not. I get it. I accept it. Right on. I'm more on the let's call it what it is. I'm on the feminine side. No one haven't figured that out yet. But however, I don't always feel in a different way. I don't always feel the need to answer that in a question because it's like, oh come on, y'all know I'm gay. Why does that matter? Y'all want to imply because I'm gay that it's more risky or whatever having sex. Well, I feel like at this point it's risky for everybody, straight by whatever. At this freaking point, okay. I feel like in general everyone's doing whatever. I don't mean to be vulgar, but let's call it what it is. So it's like at this
No,
point, what is your point?
it's true. There's still like even
Yeah.
in 2026 of the current timeline
Yeah.
that is, there's still some sort of a stigma,
Yeah.
and
In my experience.
I mean, well, even in the Netherlands, I mean, we're fairly liberal.
Oh, good to know.
I believe we were the first to allow gay marriage.
I heard. Thank you.
So we've always been very, very liberal in that. But that's the love aspect. For some reason, when it comes to sex, let's just say it like it is,
Mhm.
there's still some sort of stigma. Like indeed, as you said, like it's more dangerous or something that you could, I don't know, catch an STD easier or
Right.
whatever. And I honestly think that still goes back to the AIDS scare, because I believe,
Yeah, it does.
I'm not sure if that's the original name, but it was also named GRID, gay related infection disease.
Yeah, that's fun.
and I don't think it ever really got rid of that stigma.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
don't think
it's
so.
Africans and gays, to be very blunt.
Yeah, sadly. So yeah, so thank you for piggyback. It actually helps me a little bit more. Thank you. I don't remember her name, so I don't have to say her name, but Miss Thing, we'll call her Miss Thing, was asking me all this. It's like, no. So it was a hot mess. So eventually, in between all that and dealing with the BS there and going to school in the nut house, which was real fun, we couldn't watch certain things because it might encourage, according to them, mental delusions or whatever. In short, like X-Men, like I couldn't watch the X-Men cartoon back in the 90s for a while. I'm like, yeah, okay. Whatever.
Because that would further your mental delusions, if you will.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to say. I mean, I'm not wording
I'd
them
say
right.
that
Yeah,
in itself is a pretty delusional take.
pretty much. If that was the case, I'd be a lot more powerful. Okay, but yeah, that's basically what they're implying, if not directly said. So you're right. And luckily by that time, I was starting to get to know the dragon. I knew his name, Dylon. So it was starting to become okay. Obviously, I was still in the nut house, so that probably doesn't really help my credibility, I guess, quote unquote, whatever.
Oh, you're in the
You
nut
know,
house and you're seeing dragons. Well, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
no wonder you're in the nut house.
yeah, pretty much. Even though I've come to realize he's real, but obviously, can I prove that objectively? Probably not to this day, but it is what it is. But again, I was
Well,
14, so a lot of education was needed. Hello,
I mean, at 14, hell yeah. Like I wasn't even
right?
aware of things at 14. I was just trying to make it through school.
Yeah, well,
And even
I
that was a bitch.
I kind of stopped carrying in between all that, but I just enjoyed the free lunch. The rest of it was bullshit to me. But I probably shouldn't tell. Well, I don't think anyone under 18 watches this, so I don't think I'm encouraging delinquency that way. At least I hope not.
Kids, pluck your ears.
Yeah. But anyway, so after a while, things were calming down. I was starting to learn more about it. Mom took my dragon necklace so they wouldn't figure out shit. So yeah, the woman knew more than she wanted to say, just to give you a little more perfume on the pig, as Nancy Grace would say. And anyway, so I eventually got out the nut house. Luckily. And of course, my weight was an issue for him because God knows people can't just shut up about anything. No, of course, unless it's compound more of my many issues. And Dylon not being one of them at that point, but for them it is. So we all have our different perspectives as I'm yelling this out 30 something years later. And yes, I will fully admit at times, as most 14-year-olds I'm sure do, take things a little too literal and a little bit seriously. Yes, to an extent, I may have taken fiction not entirely in a bad way, maybe a little too literal in certain aspects. But the one thing I will say, I was always searching for the truth and the reality of things. I might have got a little
Hmm.
carried away, but don't teenagers get carried away anyway? I also have to remember in anything, don't adults get carried away and shit. So I'm
Oh
still
god,
learning how not to feel
if
bad about
anything,
that.
adults get carried away more often.
Right?
They
I
concern themselves with things that are well out of their reach, well out of their influence. And it's nowadays it's kids and teenagers. I mean, I guess it's always been kids and
yeah,
teenagers who are just, they want to do their thing and
yeah,
just, you know, they go to school and then after school, play with their friends, do
right.
their sports, their extracurricular activities,
Yeah,
whatever it is, skin color, sexuality, that all
yeah,
doesn't fucking matter to them. I see that
right.
with my own kids as well. I got a well, almost 11-year-old daughter. My son will be 8 soon, and they don't care about those things. If you're nice to them, they're nice to you. And that's it. It's the adults who look at skin color. It's the
Yeah,
adults who look at sexuality. It's the adults that, make where you are from or what you believe your identity. And I mean, as you have said before, and I agree, yes, kids can be nasty. Kids can be
yeah,
absolutely fucking nasty. I have dealt with that as well. And I've had my fair share of playground fights. But kids don't worry themselves about these things. It's the adults, and mostly adults in in power, or will perceived or given power, such as see.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Again, I know some of this seems like I trailed off, but it is going to add in because we are heading into 1995 before 1996. Okay, so fast forwarding a little bit more. So I was starting to get used to dialogue, and then I started to find out more about my own dragonness, if you will. I didn't hear about the term otherkin and all this other stuff, and I use the term shifter now just to fast forward a little bit. But regardless, I was starting to learn more about that. It was a progression. It really was. And of course, before I realized I was gay, I had a girlfriend because that was real fun. AKA the beard. That was fun for everybody. My mother did not like that girl. She still don't like her almost to this day. She really don't like her. Thought she was a tramp. Anyway, but things were starting to progress, blah, blah, blah. I was actually starting to get a handle on everything. Had her, I'll say her name because she ain't gonna listen to this, Melissa, and we're still friends, kind of. It's just awkward as things get older. But, my friend now, girlfriend then, and then Jason in between, because that was real fun, you know, having a whole bunch of secret lives up in here. And then, of course, Mama never fully directly told me what happened. But when I told her certain things that Dallin was teaching me, she didn't want to interfere with that. So, yeah, she clearly knew what the hell going on. And she was not surprised once I learned his name and all that. So, yeah, the woman knew. Let's just spoiler alert. Anyway, so as things were progressing into 1996, and I was starting to get used to, learning about my own draconity, if you will. Not that I knew that term at the time, learning about the planet he came from, being a hybrid and all this other shit.
I've got experience with this. I mean, not well directly with dragons, but
I
definitely
understand.
beings from other
Fair.
planes of existence, if you will.
Hey, that exactly. Thank you. So, and then of course, watching Hercules and Xena. Keep it real brief.
Hercules: The Legendary Journeys.
Yes, Hercules.
I downloaded that recently on my
There you
computer.
go.
I've been watching it. It's
Mhm.
great. Kevin
It
Sorbo.
is.
Yeah, man.
Yes, I was so attracted to him. Well, before I knew about his political leanings, but I didn't know about that in the '90s, so I didn't care.
I mean, I'm straight, but I can't blame you. He is, especially in those times,
Yeah,
he was a good-looking man.
he definitely was. I can't take it. Oh my God, I had such an obsessive crush with that woman. But anyway, I mean, I know there's issues with the show now. Looking at it 30-something years later, it's not. Well, I get it, but it still helped me in
Whatever.
other areas. But I will still be grateful for being another trigger to me finding the Greek gods. Okay, and they do play a role in this, but the point is, it played a role. Now, obviously, this is where I think I need to learn to forgive myself and taking some things fictionally too literal. But at the same time, I was still always looking for the truth and the reality of it. So I realized maybe I wasn't as bad. But then again, teenagers make mistakes. And I guess I have to learn to forgive myself, among many things. I'm not the most forgiving of myself, I realize.
I guess now I understand why they call podcasting therapy for grown men.
I guess so. Yeah.
Like we don't go to therapy, we start a podcast.
Yeah. And I've had mostly bad therapists, so there you go.
Great.
But yeah. But
Hence the podcasting.
there you go. Everyone makes mistakes, but I always was looking for the truth and the reality of things in my own way. And that's important to remember that. Even if I did a little unorthodox. Maybe that's okay. But I try to remind myself of that fact.
I
So
mean, that's I'm a Germanic pagan. I'm a follower
okay.
of the old European gods
Okay.
of Northern Europe.
Yep.
I respect the Greek gods, but it's Northern Europe for me, being Dutch and all.
Understandable. I have lots of friends, so got you.
And I mean, it's very Odinic. It's very Wotanic. By whatever means possible, the end justifies the means. If it gets you the results, then by all means. I mean, he did some heinous things.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I
it wasn't
wouldn't.
that bad. Not in that regard.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing those
No,
things,
no,
but
neither
I
would I.
understand. I understand.
Right.
Sometimes you got to do things that you may not like or that you may not ever envisioned doing, but if it gets you the desired result in the end, so be it.
Right. And that's what I'm referring to. Yeah. I wasn't that bad, y'all, but yeah, pretty much. So it was a journey. It's all a process. So yeah. So in between learning about the gods and gods of evolution, that's where Dylon came from, where I guess we come from. And then learning about the Olympians, my own UPG, And then what I read in books, of course, I did not. I got a little bit clusterfuck when I found out Zeus and Hera are siblings. That was I did not expect that. Okay, so those shows left that shit out. Okay, so that was real fun for me to learn that. And the bitch been jealous of me. It's a whole lot. Anywho, yeah, I almost passed the fuck out when I read that shit. Anyway, I mean, I'm over it now. It's been almost 30-something years, for God's sake. It's not over 30 years. Yeah, so
I
I'm a
mean,
little over it
the
now.
stories of the great gods, the stories of Zeus, and all the things that he has done. I mean, there's very little that he hasn't done.
You got that right. And then years later, when I found about the home. Anyway, yeah, it's a lot. So coming into 1996, as I'm finally being happier, slightly, briefly, I was sort of going to come out of the closet. I really wanted to be with Jason. Again, suppressing the trauma from all that. I guess I'll have my own version of Luke and Laura up in here. Okay. Shit. The fuck. By the way, I don't recommend that's not a good thing. But I'm just saying, again, these were the 90s, y'all. I had my
Different
own
times.
modern day Luke and Laura.
Luckily, our audience is mostly, well, more mature, I guess.
Yes, I hope so. I'm not saying people should
I
fall
do
in love
too.
with their. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm talking over
No,
you.
I
So rude.
kind of do too. But
Okay.
yeah, no, keep going.
Thank you. But no, I'm with you though. I'm not saying people should marry or be with their rapists. I'm not saying that. But I suppressed the shit and I was beginning to be able to admit I was in love with them. But yeah, it's a whole lot, y'all. Okay. It's like a damn soap opera. It's probably why I liked Melrose Place back in the day.
You did kind of say that your show is kind of like Sex in the City, and I guess
Yes.
I'm starting to understand why.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I'm trying to keep it as I can, but it's starting to come out a little bit. So I'm trying to keep the swear to a minimum. As I'm trying to maybe not come out the closets, but try to at least kind of. I knew I wanted Jason in my life, and Melissa kept breaking up with me for every other guy. By the way, I'm not mad about that. Almost over 30 years now, because I'm like, quick side story. Miss Thing, she going through a whole lot. I won't talk about her problems, but she going through a lot. And she said, "You want to go back out?" Now, keep in mind, I had to tell this girl, "Ma'am, this is over 30 years. You want to date someone who's basically openly gay now, married, polyamorous, has a whole bunch of kids, and the type of family I have, and my grandkids. You know I like men. You know I like the D. Let's call it what it is, girl. I pretty much had a thing for your brother and your father, and every male relative of your family. Come on, girl. I was trying to talk some sense into her, basically, because I'm like, girl, do better. This is 2026. No, do better. Think of yourself. Think of me. Think of me. I said that twice. But still, girl, life cannot be that bad where you're trying to go back out with someone who's openly gay and married to men. Well, whatever. What? I'll try to get a snap out of it. Anyway, I had to remind her, you kept breaking up with me, as it turns out, rightfully so, for other guys. Because your body or your mind knew something was up with me, even if you or I couldn't admit that. I had to remind that. And plus, I had to remind my mama don't like you. She thinks you're a tramp. I mean, I know it sounds mean the way I'm saying it, but it's like, girl, your life is fucked. I get it, but it cannot be that bad where you're trying to go out with someone who's openly gay. And when we almost did the, you know what, I almost threw up in my mouth because I felt so unnatural to me. That's when I realized I wasn't bi, I was gay. Quick spoiler alert.
Well, I get it. What kind of issues does she have?
Right. I mean,
If
yeah, there's
trying to
stuff
date
going
someone
on.
who's openly gay, your mother does not like her.
So back to 1995, going into 96, because, girl, and then in between this one, Sabrina the Teenage Witch was on, so that was real fun for me. And I guess I was using it as a model to learn how to use my own magic and all that. Okay, I admit it. And you know what? I ain't ashamed of it because I grew and I learned and I became better. And I was still looking for the truth, y'all. Keep that in mind. So I guess I wasn't coming out the closet, but I just knew I wanted to be a Jason. Okay, how about that, y'all? That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted.
I
I
mean,
was in love with the
you
guy.
kind of opened the doors and took a peek
Yes.
outside and was like,
Yes.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yes. 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 Exactly. Not to be overly dramatic, but it's a little dramatic. Okay. So as things were kind of okay, and I was trying not to engage with my father so much because he was an abusive creep. even before I knew they were my parents. Oh, we'll get to that. I thought they were my grandparents, but it turns out years later, not exactly. We'll get to that in between. So put a pin in that, y'all. But I still call them mom and dad in between. I interchanged it, but let's just say to give you a little bit more of an idea, because I know I kind of just sprung that out of nowhere. I always in between knew mom specifically, but I guess daddy in between were my parents. I could never figure out why or how I got that sense or feeling. Some people always like to say it's because they raised you. Sure, that's part of it, as it should be. And that should not be discounted, but it was deeper than that. Something I couldn't explain as a child. Now, again, I'm sure people want to discount what I'm feeling when I was 8. Fine, but not when I was 10. When I was 10, it was a little bit more definitive until I suppressed it. So, yeah, I would say 10 for sure. I knew, felt something anyway. Call it instinctual, call it psychic. I don't know, however you want to put it, y'all, but that's what I felt. Anyway, so I just want to give you a little detail because I know I just sprung that on y'all. Anyway, so in between things in 1996, going back to this little pony. God, I miss My Little Pony. Anyway, the original cartoon, not that BS. But, yeah, I'm real particular about My Little Pony. Anyhow, I'm not a brony, but I do like My Little Pony. Anyway, let me not get sidetracked on that. But anyway, as I was saying, so things were starting to come somewhat together. I tried to deal with daddy in his own abusive way. He was always more abusive to my mother, and he did not like Jason because he says that I'm not going to say the word on here, but it's that, N word here, so that was real fun. Sarcasm implied.
Okay.
And no, he did not know about what happened in the basement, by the way, y'all. You know, but anyway. So in between when things were briefly going well, and I do say briefly, daddy got sick, which was sure fine for me because he wasn't there being himself and he was in a hospital and, whatever. But, and things with Jason were progressing and of course, doing the do. It's a nice one how to put that in a clean way, semi-clean way. Then Miss Thing, in between me and Melissa, we're not going back out, thank the gods for that. And in between briefly dating Jessica, oh God, that was something else. That was something I regret to this day. But lovely as she is, it's just a me issue. But really it was Jason, who I thought about. Then my mom wanted me, just to fast forward back in 1996, I was 16. Mama wanted me to go with her to the Sizzler. And I was trying to get her to leave so I could have sex with Jason.
Mm-hmm.
The point is, she got mad at me. Well, you just wanted me to leave so you can have Jason over. Yeah? No, I didn't say that, but I'm like, yeah.
I
So we
mean,
were, yeah. That's
I
what
mean,
it
isn't
was.
that why all teenagers want their parents out of the
Yeah.
house so they can
Yeah.
sneak someone in and
Yeah.
do the hanky panky?
Yeah, pretty much. So we got into basically a passive aggressive fight that day. And of course, I try to get Jason to come over and then I just end up staying there and, doing the do, if you will. Again, try not to be too gratuitous about it, but you get the idea, y'all.
I
Then I was
understand.
then I was walking home. Okay. This part, okay, I don't know how else to say it, so I'm gonna say it, and it's still not really easy. I'm just gonna be honest. I knew something was going on. I just felt something that came over me, something happened to my mother. We had that fight that day. I was angry at her. You know, I used my magic to try and, well, all right, let's just say, make whatever happened to her permanent. It turns out it did, because I knew she. And then the cops were asking me, what happened when I came back there, asking me who I was. And in between, I mean, obviously doing that spell to make things, more permanent. I don't want to say the word on here, but you get what I'm saying. Hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
I know people are smart.
Well, our audience is very smart. Yes.
Yeah. And then the cop asked me, and then I lied and said I was 17. I don't know why I thought that would make a difference. I don't know. I can't even tell you. I didn't say I made sense all the time. I guess I just didn't want them treating me any younger than I was. That's why I said I was 17, which oddly enough, at that point, I was 2 months away from being 17. So I didn't 100% lie. I just didn't 100% tell the truth either. And they kept asking me what's going on. So I took my cat because by that time, Muffin was with us and that was the cat's name, was no longer with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I was not going to leave my cat alone. And then, of course, I should not have told the cop that my mother was going to be no longer with us by 8 o'clock p.m. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have mentioned that. But yeah, years later, I got her certificate, not birth, but the other one. And it did say p.m. So luckily they didn't take that seriously. I guess it's a good thing. But I guess it's too inadmissible because I wasn't there, so I don't know. But yeah, and then that's when the trouble began. I told you I'd get to it, but I need y'all to understand the rest, the in between and the before. Then all my relatives, and I don't call them family, came out the woodwork.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they didn't think I should be left home alone at night. Granted, I was 16, going on 17, 2 months later. I wasn't 5, I wasn't 12. Oh, and yeah, in between the cops asking me where I was that night, I was not going to tell them I was having relations with Jason. They didn't even know about Jason. Well, they knew, but they didn't know. I'm not telling you, MFer, that I'm having relations with my whatever the hell he is. I don't know why. I was 16, going on 17. I really needed someone home with me at night, really? Okay. And that's when CPS came in. I know I'm taking a long way explaining it, but I need y'all to understand the in between and ins and outs here because it really does play a role here.
Mm-hmm.
It really changed my life once again, and not in a good way. That's when CPS was called, or I like to say Kidnappers Incorporated. In my opinion,
I
I'll
like
say
that.
that. I think I cut
No,
you off.
I like that. Kidnappers Incorporated.
I
That's
mean,
good. That's a good one.
yeah, I'll say in my opinion, based on my experience, so I don't get your show in trouble. But yeah, should be. I know there'll be a disclaimer. I know there will be. Yeah. And of course, I was staying with my friend at the time, which I won't mention her name just to make it easier. But, because, I might be getting, either way, at some point, Paul, and then, yeah, that's what happened. But anyway, CPS was involved either way, which sucks. And of course, that's when I first met David Stratton. I might be reversing the two things, but it all happened so quick. It feels like it happened all in the same time. So in my friend's house, that's when all my relatives started coming by. We'll get to those bitches in a minute. Okay. Then I saw not Jason, but my first rapist, who I thought was my half brother, through fat asses and his former ex-wife, the one that bounced on all four of them kids, and then came back to New Jersey at some point and had another kid with somebody else, and who actually raised that kid, but whatever, And people want to say years later, oh well, if he had a mother, shut the fuck. Like I give a fuck about your whole bag mama leaving, and the pervert doing what he did to me. Get the fuck out of here, heifer. Anyway, that's Big Ugly, aka Randy. Just in case I didn't mention, I'm mentioning it now. Anyway, so all that happened, and I saw the pervert in my living room before I knew he was my nephew. In between all that, I was freaking the hell out, and that was real fun, like a lobotomy, And this
Jesus.
asshole, David, I won't say his last name for y'all's sake, but David, this something didn't even consider that. And spoiler, put me with relatives Stacy, who was pretty much believed the pervert over me. Yeah, that was real fun. So, in case you're all wondering why I'm bitter, that's why. And here's the other reason why I'm bitter and why I said they kidnapped me. Da da da! Little sarcasm, a little humor. As far as I know, they never investigated them. Stacy, she got pregnant or married at the same time. I don't know which came first. Doesn't really matter. She was between 12 and 14. Chelsea says she was 14. That's her daughter. I say she was 12. Teenagers get pregnant. In itself doesn't make her a bad person, right? Not at all. However, her marrying a grown man when she was in the late 70s, between 12 and 14, yeah, I guess CPS didn't want to investigate that, supposedly. And in between the little violator doing what he did to me and who I thought was my sister, but my niece Alexandra, or whatever he did, he lived with her briefly. Interesting. Yeah. Now her two sets of children are, I guess I'll mention his first name because it's so common, Willie. Now, granted, had a crush or obsessed with him since I was, a little kid. Oh, no, he didn't do anything to me. Let me make sure I say that abundantly clear. It's completely one-sided, y'all. I guess I'd have to be a 12 to 14-year-old girl for that. Whoops. But I won't say allegedly on that for one reason, because the first kid, Chelsea to a lower extent, but the first son, who was named after him, is genetic proof. Just say.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I have to say allegedly if there's proof. And their children, at least the first one, is proof. Then, if that wasn't bad enough, her sisters, as I like to call them, Moonface Girl and Big Ugly, all married grown men or shacked up with grown men and had children with them in the late 70s, I might add. Now, does that make them bad people? In and of itself, no, per se. But however, when you have a father, and I use that term loosely,
Mm-hmm.
who signed for it and who was, let's just say, being a perpetrator his darn self in one way or another to them, I would think there should be at least an investigation. Now, it's one thing if one of them did that, okay, then maybe it's on them. Two of them, okay. But when it's all three of your daughters doing that, you're kind of the blame as a parent at that point. And then
I mean,
you're,
if it's all the kids, then
yeah,
that's really no longer coincidence. That's a
no,
pattern.
it is.
Like, I mean, as you said, like one, yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Two, that's a little sus, but
yeah,
possible, I guess. All of them? No, that. Something's up there.
right. And keep in mind, grown men, we're not talking about getting pregnant. Teenage pregnancies happen. Okay, I mean that's
Yeah.
since the beginning of time. But by grown men, most teenage girls don't want to date a grown man or marry one that's old enough to be their father in most situations. Hopefully,
Unless they are severely traumatized or made to.
exactly. You know, now maybe I can't blame them for their brother being a perpetrator. Fine, but they pretty much condone it in one way, or acting like I'm making it up. Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, if you're not speaking out against it while you know that it's going on,
Mm-hmm.
then I would indeed say that you are condoning it.
Yeah.
You don't have to actively say something to agree with it. Silence
Yeah.
can be just as damning.
Absolutely. I don't think David investigated them. I think you should investigate whoever you're going to put someone with. You see me freaking out in front of the person. If you
I
think I'm
mean, if
faking, then I guess. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're talking.
no, but if you're gonna, put a child with a host family, and I know CPS can be very negligent at
Yeah.
that.
At best.
Unfortunately, I mean there are so many stories that the child is worse off at the
Mm-hmm.
foster parents, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you would think that like at least some investigation would be done.
Yeah.
At least some. Like
Some.
go over to the house, have a talk with, the adults, try to involve the kids, kind of get to know them, and if all of these things that you're saying are like very out in the open, like even CPS should have seen that, and it should have, with the emphasis on should have,
Oh yeah, definitely should have.
raised some red flags. And
It didn't.
no, clearly, I don't think it raised anything at all.
No. At least in my opinion, I don't think so either. And then, so dealing with that, and then basically, this is where the kidnapping comes in. No investigation, forcing me to live with the tramp, in my opinion, whatever. Was briefly married to Willie and Bob, the second husband, briefly at the same time, before she left Willie officially. Briefly married to them both at the same time. Again, the only thing I'm proud of her for, only thing she ever did right, in my opinion. you know. And she had to get divorced from Willie so she wouldn't get in trouble from bigamy, obviously. So I would think, as an investigator, you'd want to know that. Now, again, do I personally care? I mean, being polyamorous, no. But as a teenager, I might have cared because I didn't want to be there. But the worst part about that is, I'm not gonna. I'll say allegedly, but she told me herself, so whatever. That
Mm-hmm.
Bob was allegedly, how do I say this nicely? Whooping ass. Damn, I said it. And this was before I lived there. Now, I guess he wasn't doing it at that point, but he did. And that alone, I would think CPS should have known that. Especially if you're shipping me, kidnapping me, forcing me to go live with her and her 5 kids. and her second husband, I might add. And I think you should have investigated that. Now, if you did that and you didn't find anything, then you're dumb. And yet, just me having an emotional outburst in the perv, I don't think any of that alone would warrant it. At least pausing, taking your time not to ship me off somewhere. Keep in mind, I know 17, you're not an adult. Let me be clear, I know that, but I wasn't a little kid either. What was the rush? Is what I'm trying to figure out. People can give me excuses they always have from CPS over the years, but to me, that don't track. Again, I'm biased. Cool. But to me, that doesn't make sense. I was 16 going on 17. I know 17, you're not an adult, but you're not a little kid either.
The things you understand,
Right.
things you're able to grasp certain concepts a little
least.
better.
Right. And in certain states, the age of consent is 17. I'm not trying to encourage anyone to do anything, but
I
at least
mean,
from what I understand,
here in the
it is.
Netherlands, it's 16. That
Oh, okay.
doesn't mean that, as a full grown adult you should be,
Right, of
looking to
course.
hook up with 16-year-olds.
No, not at all.
It's
I'm
more
not
so
saying that.
that 16-year-olds and 17, 18 can do stuff with each
Right.
other
Right.
without it being illegal or
Right.
punishable in any way. It's meant for that age group,
Exactly.
not for grown-ups to be
Right,
pervs
not at
over
all.
it.
Right. Just so we're clear, I am saying that too, but I'm just making a point. I wish someone told R. Kelly that, but okay, anyway.
Yeah,
But yeah,
or just about everyone else.
yeah, that too.
I mean, Leo DiCaprio has a habit. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, your frontal lobe is fully developed. Well, okay, bye. It's been fun.
Yeah. I mean, at least they're legal, so I'm not gonna. In my head, I would rather that than any other age. How about that? I'm not encouraging it, but I'm just like, I would rather that than anything else at this point.
I mean, but like Leo is 50, but yeah, getting back to the
Yeah,
the
I
point.
know. I'm sorry.
At 16, 17, 18,
Right.
you're not an adult per se.
Right.
But
And I'll say that.
you understand things. You
Yeah.
know things, or you know better already. When things are good or bad, or you're starting to get a semblance of
Right.
when things add up and when they don't.
Right. That's what I was trying to say. I know I went on a tangent a little bit, but I'm trying
It's
to.
all right.
But I was trying to explain probably way more. Anyway, moving on. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, and that's my point. In New Jersey, I could be having relations with whoever at that point between 16 and 17, but yet I can't have a say. And of course, years later, I found out, and depending who I called, they said you actually did have at least some say. So someone be lying to me somewhere, and someone be doing some, in my opinion, F shit, because I had a say. And yeah, Paul too, aka Darren, screwed up, but I was 16 going on 17. What was a big deal me being home at night? I'm like, what? I'm like, if I was 5 or even 12, I could see your point. Maybe even 15, I could see your point. But 16 going on 17 2 months later? What's up with that? I mean,
That's not a valid reason.
no, it's not. And that's the part. They try to give me some excuse or whatever, but it's bullshit. So I was forced to go live with Stacy and her family, which I'm sure real fun. Keep in mind, I didn't remember my real feelings because we're back in, hellbig country now. This is where the real shit really continues. I don't remember my real feelings for Willie at the time, going back to when I was 5 when I first met him. But I had a thing for Willie apparently, so I hit on him one or two times on the phone. I didn't know where that came from looking back. At the time I didn't, but now looking back as my memories started coming in, oh, this comes from something else. Back when I was 5, y'all. So, and once again, Willie never did anything with me. He never encouraged. I don't think he knows at the time. Knows at 17, 16, yeah. He knew when I was 5. He knew when I was hitting on him when I was 16 and he married some other bitch, sure. But he didn't know about the 5 part, so he never did anything. He might be more taken aback when I was hitting on him at 16, but oh well, I don't give a fuck. But he never did anything about it. Let's be clear. I guess I'd have to be a 12 to 14-year-old girl for that. But hey, what can you do? This is hillbilly country we're talking about. So I guess if your parent signs for you to get married to a grown man, it's okay. At least in the 70s.
I mean, as long as your parents give permission,
Yeah.
right?
And Chubby did. So as I was living there against my will, and the last time I talked to David on the phone, I think I hung up on him because I didn't want to go to school at that point. And I guess I had to go. And apparently in Texas, they don't let you drop out until you're 18, which is weird. Um, but in New Jersey, they let you drop out at 16. So I don't know, but whatever. Um, I don't know. I just went through the motions the last year and a half of school there because I didn't give a shit. And I wasn't with people I cared about, so fuck them. So I was dealing with that, and I liked Chelsea mostly because she was Willie's daughter. Um, she had a boyfriend I liked at the time, so and she had so many, but it really was just the one I liked. So there's that. Even though I was still in love with Jason, and I was trying to do everything I can to get away from these people to get back to him. That's where that comes in, y'all. So I was never planning on staying there as long as I did. My intention was always to keep fighting to get away from there. I was thinking of getting emancipated. No one went for that. Of course not, because there's money involved with me. So why would anyone let me go? Wouldn't be for my happiness, It's not like I was really wanted there, especially when I was willing to do anything I could to go be with Jason. I'm not when I talk about this part, it's not going to be the thing I'm proud of, but it is what it is. I was willing I saw the cracks with Bob and Stacy's marriage from the minute I got there. Call it, being psychic and all that helped, but yeah, and the cracks between their family, all 5 of those kids, between Billy and Chelsea, Samantha and Lucas, and the baby who was 2. Now,
Mm.
I'm not proud of this, but I did whatever I had to do to get home to Jason. I did whatever I could to make what I want happen, y'all. Okay. So, I was gonna get home any way I could. 'Cause the therapist I was seeing at the time was a bitch, and she was completely useless, and pretty much took Stacy's side. Everyone knew I didn't wanna be there. Whatever. Huge surprise. And even though Stacy promised the little perv wouldn't be there, he was there from time to time. So I was being re-victimized and re-traumatized seeing my abuser. So that was real fun for me. Yeah,
Hmm.
real fun. Real fun. Oh, and I wasn't allowed to tell any of the other kids about yeah, that was fun. Good times. Good times. Yeah. So, and by the way, I was not attracted to Bob, but I needed a father figure. I needed a hobby. I missed my father because he was already in the nut house. I mean, not nut house. He was already in the hospital at that point. And mom, you know, before her transcension years later, 2 years later, she died. So that's where CPS came in. So just to fill in that gap real quick. Before her transcension, I mean, her transcension wouldn't have helped me at that point, but it helped me after the point. So put a pin in that. So 'cause I was pretty much on my own. I was pretty much gonna raise myself at this point because I only had myself, and I turned 17 a month half. I was kidnapped there end of October, early November, and November 23rd was my birthday, so I turned 17 then. Yeah, real great. And the ironic part is, which I got this harebrained scheme as I found it from a kid in school, don't know her name, so I'm not gonna mention obviously, that you can get married at 17 in Texas without your parents' permission. So I
Oh.
got this because I was still in the closet. So I figured, bring this poor girl in this situation, Heather, and try to marry her just so I can get away from Stacy. In between me trying to steal Bob from Stacy as a father figure. But my plans were buried, okay? The school was useless and all this in a bowl of grits, literally. And I was gonna do whatever I had to do to get home. Oh, well. I mean, I guess that's partly what I had little Kim as a role model back in the day in the 90s. But oh well, I did what I had to do. In between working on my gifts, learning from Dylan and the other gods in between, and Aphrodite being a second mother to me when I needed, at least I had somebody. But it's like yeah, it was a lot going on. All of the above, it was a lot. I feel like it's a mystical soap opera up in here, and I guess it is. I mean, Aphrodite did what she could to help me. And of course, I saw mom periodically, and she didn't like some of the things I was doing, or, but she also knew she couldn't do anything because I was going to do what I had to do to get home. Okay. And no one was going to help me. I knew that pretty much the
Mhm.
counselors were not stuff, let's say. I'll try and keep it mute and cute. And I was on my own. So I was trying to do what I had to do to get back to the main point, y'all. And I was trying to, I'm not proud of it. I'm just not ashamed of it anymore. cause chaos in that house. And you know what the sad thing is? Because I know I'm kind of saying this really fast, because I know if I don't say it, I'm never going to say it. It didn't take that much. That's the sad part. It really didn't take that much. Stacy's marriage was in the toilet anyway, which is why I'm surprised Bob allowed her to have me there. I guess that money helped every month. I don't know. And the kids' relationship with each other and their parents weren't that great. It didn't take that much for me to cause chaos, unfortunately. I mean, I'm not proud of it. I'm just not ashamed of it. Their family
I
structure
mean,
was not that strong.
you weren't in the best
I'm sorry, go ahead.
position. You weren't in the best mindset. You really were not having the time of your life. So yeah, at a
No, I
place
wasn't.
you don't want to be with people who don't respect you and you don't respect them, and
Right,
you're or they are doing it for all the wrong reasons. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, no wonder you're gonna stir shit.
right. Like I said, I sensed it the second I got there, and it did not any low level or psychic could even sense it. It was ridiculous how easy it was. I mean, you'd be surprised how easy it was. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't know why Willie never stepped in to protect his children from me. Let me say that as horrible as I was, I never did anything lascivious. That's not what I'm saying. Just to be clear, but what I was doing wasn't great either. So I don't know why, as their father, he didn't say anything to Stacy. That's what I don't understand. He had every
So
right to.
so
He's
how
their
did you get
father.
out?
Glad you asked. So in between doing what I was doing, fast forwarding, it took me a year and a half altogether to get home. Right. So in between all that, and I had some rights in hillbilly country, but not a lot, not as much as I thought. Plus, everyone wanted to use my conditions, make them seem like I was way worse than they were
Hmm.
against me. So that was real fun. And then, so eventually, fast forwarding, I left Stacy's house at some point to go live with Moonface Girl, aka Lisa. Then I lived with their father, Fatty, before I knew he wasn't my father, but that was years later. And then he definitely wanted money. So he tried to treat me younger than I really was, and nothing to do with me at this point, but yeah. And so I went to school, unfortunately, got left back because they're stupid. And I was still plotting to get away because I was determined to be with Jason by hook or by crook. So after a while, once I was officially 18, back in 1998, right? And in between my experiences and not knowing mom's transition at that time, I got Angie to give me a ride to the bus station. I didn't want George knowing, that's Fatty, by the way, same person, I was leaving. He tried to be in front of the car or truck. I kind of wish he would have ran him over, but she didn't, luckily for her. But he tried to tell her I thought like an 11-year-old and this, that, and the 10th. She didn't listen to him, luckily. I got to the bus station, and that's when having one previous attempt to go back to New Jersey when I was 18, but that didn't work out, so I need a little more planning. But this attempt was as planned as it could get. I took the bus 2 days, 2 or 3, 4 days back to New Jersey. So that's essentially the very condensed, abridged version of how I escaped. It took me a year and a half.
I mean, that's still pretty fast.
Yeah, not as fast enough at the time, but yeah, I guess it was looking back at
No,
it.
I mean, those that year and a half must have felt like an
Yeah,
eternity. I
yeah.
understand.
Oh
But
yeah,
there
it
are
felt
so
like I
many
was having
stories of
Odysseus.
children who
Yeah,
don't get out, or just get out get out the back door, if you
yeah,
will.
yeah. No, exactly.
Little PETA reference for you there.
Yeah,
Um, so the fact that it took you a year and a half, I guess still with everything that has happened, you're one of the lucky ones that it was still in a pretty short amount of time. Even
yeah.
though a year is quite long, especially if you're, 16, 17, then a year, I mean, it might as well be an eternity.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I guess looking at it, I guess you're right.
So you took the bus back to
Yes.
Jersey, and they just let you? They didn't go looking for you, or what What happened?
That's a good question. Thank you. So in between all of that, I was 18 at that point, luckily, so that kind of helped. Now,
Mhm.
allegedly, when I went back a few months later to get the rest of my crap, Fatty told me that he tried to call the cops on me to get them to bring me back, and they told him, depending if he even did it all, allegedly, that they wouldn't do it because even if I did think like an 11-year-old, as he said, in the hand me regard, they said they wouldn't do it because even if I do, I still had a right to leave at that point. I was 18. Technically, at 17, I could have picked where I wanted to live, which I did. I just, so
Mhm.
there's that. Hell, you can get married at 17 without parents' permission, so there's that. Yeah, Hillbilly Country is very weird. He thought of going to the bus station to get me or try to get me, but I guess he figured, what's the point? And he knew from the day I got there, everyone knew from the day I got there, all I ever wanted to do was be with Jason. All I ever wanted to do was not be there. I didn't care about school. I didn't care about anybody, actually. I
Mhm.
was completely miserable, more than fine making everyone else miserable from the entire time I was there and any of those places that I mentioned to when I came back. So I guess they knew where I was, and I guess he figured, what's the point?
I mean, for him to give up that quickly, to give
Yeah,
up that easily, that seems odd.
I agree. I thought that was looking at it, it does seem more odd as I get older. It's like I can't say he wanted me to be happy because it was always about money. And if you want to tell, I mean, listen, I may have my
I mean,
conditions.
if it's all about money, then like, wouldn't he at least try his best to keep up the charades, keep up the facades? Try to convince CPS or whoever is the whoever pays that you're still there. I mean, that's a thing
You'd
all
think,
over the world. Like even with like retirement money, retirement checks. You
right?
know, granddaddy passed, I don't know, 3 years ago, but we're still cashing in his checks because we just didn't tell anyone.
Right. I don't it's a good question. I mean, they didn't get any money from CPS. I got it from, I don't know what you call it in the Netherlands, but, SS basically. Because I do have some issues. Now, whether or not I agree with all my diagnoses is irrelevant at this point, but they're there. So
Hmm.
that's where the money came from. But to answer your question, I don't know why he gave up. I always found that kind of odd now looking at it. I mean, I guess I didn't care at the time because I got what I wanted finally.
I mean,
I
yeah.
mean, maybe it's because I always kept bad mouthing and mentioning everything in our so-called relatives' business. Yeah,
But I
just
mean,
like
if that
I don't
was
know. It's
if
a good
that was such a
question.
problem, he wouldn't have taken you in the first place.
You'd think.
I
No,
mean, if
I
you
agree with
were
you.
if you were that terrible, then no matter what money or any kind of benefits would be attached to it, you'd think that, oh, like, hell no, I'm not taking trouble into my home. And
Right,
then the cops tell him like, oh well, he's 18. There's nothing you can do anymore.
right.
He's an adult now. It's like, okay, oh well, guess so.
Yeah, I find it odd
Back
too.
back to back to life.
Right. Oh,
Seems odd
well,
to give up
it,
just like that.
it is. It might have been because the last check that Lisa, because she became my payee, because I was under 18, and it might have been because the last check she got, not knowing I left, she sent to him instead of doing the right thing and telling, I'll say it, Social Security that I left at that point. Yeah, that might have been why he was a little delayed in that. But then when I
Mm.
got back to New Jersey, I had it paused. And that's when I came back months later to get the rest of my stuff, I read the letter she wrote him saying, yeah, they stopped, my old name at the time's check. So yeah, that might have been why he didn't care at that point, briefly. That's the only thing I'm thinking of. But yeah, but you bring up a good point. Do I know the real reason why he gave up so easily? I don't know. I mean, I know why he let those girls go because they weren't bringing in money, and I don't know. Maybe he got tired of I don't know. I wish I did though. I mean, maybe he just got tired of me complaining. Is the only thing I was miserable. I hated
Yeah, but
everybody.
still, you're receiving money and you
I
like
agree.
you're not really caring about, about said person anyway.
Right.
So, it's all about the money. Um,
Absolutely. No, that's the thing. I,
and
I agree.
by,
Sorry.
by you leaving, like literally just getting on the bus and being like, see y'all, fuck off. There goes his check. There goes his easy money.
Mm-hmm.
If it really was all about the money, you'd go chasing. You'd be like, oh hell no. I'm not letting my payday escape me.
I
No
wish
matter
I
how
had an
tired I
answer.
am of them, I'll just, do a Harry Potter and look them up in the broom closet. It's all such a vague story, and none of it adds up. Like, none of it makes sense. So you
Yeah.
basically got kidnapped. It's basic, yeah. Well, in a lot of cases, that is what they do.
Yeah.
Because you were left home alone at night at 16, almost 17 years old,
Yeah.
which, I mean, that's if that's a valid reason already, you can pretty much take every teenager out of the house.
Right.
And don't get any fucking funny ideas. I know the government's always listening. Don't you get any funny ideas. I will come for you. And then, you're put with, well, relatives, sort of, or,
Yeah.
people
Sort of.
that you are familiar with who clearly are very backwoods,
Yeah.
true hillbillies, yeah.
Yeah.
They're getting money to have you there, to, have you live there. You manage to escape after a year and a half, and they're
Yeah.
just letting you.
Yeah.
That, I mean, even with all the previous issues and things that happened before and during, I mean, that's the life of a teenager,
Yeah.
Name me one teenager who isn't troubled.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, they don't exist. Maybe in stories, maybe in fairy tales,
Maybe.
but I mean, come on, that's teenage life.
Right.
You make trouble and, well, still kind of get away with it because, you're a teenager, you're experimenting, you're pushing your luck, you're pushing boundaries. Hell, I was a terrible teenager. Reconnected with a girlfriend recently, and her mom was there as well. And now that we're both adults, she is 33, I'm 34. We can now both say that she wasn't the easiest, and she was her daughter. And then having me as a boyfriend who really didn't make things easier on her. I mean, yeah, we were two terrible teenagers who were in a long-term relationship. Um, so yeah, but that's being a teenager. That's still no reason, first of all, for CPS to get involved at
I agree.
16, which is
Yeah. I've heard
late,
that recently.
which is really late.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's the weird part. I mean, not to cut you off, I'm sorry. I wi- I looking at what you're saying, yeah, you're kind of right now thinking about it.
I mean, they don't get me wrong, they do get involved at
Right.
that age,
Right.
but then it has to be like, a pretty terrible household, like you're neglected and
Right.
like roaming the streets more than you are at home or at school, and your parents are doing like whatever it is
Right.
they're doing, up to no good, most likely. I've, well, at least in my teenage years and early 20s, I knew some of these people, and still CPS, didn't really get involved unless there was, well, actual physical violence or emotional violence to the point that it was damaging. Because who hasn't got into a fight with their parents?
Right.
That's nothing.
I certainly have. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but like, oh no, you're 16 years old and you're home alone during the night. Let's
Yeah.
get you out of the house and somewhere safe.
Even though they
Like,
put me in
excuse
danger.
me? Yeah, let's get you out of danger. Why would you be in danger? What danger was there? Like, you're 16 years old.
Yeah.
You're home alone.
Yeah. And I
It's
stayed in the
night.
house.
Pretty much the whole world is asleep.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing gonna happen.
Yeah. No.
And even during the day, like, what are you gonna do? Watch TV and eat chips and drink soda and just be lazy teenager.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
None of
It
this
don't.
adds up.
It
It's
don't.
yeah, it's all dumb
Right.
and very
It is.
suspicious that, even 28 or 18 years or 28 years after the fact, that's still the story they're sticking with, but they don't.
Supposedly.
Yeah, and they don't want to show you the official documents.
Right. Or don't want to make it easier for me to see it. Either way you look at it, I'd have to go through a judge if they even did decide to do it. It's like, are you kidding me? I mean, the
I
only
mean,
other
and
reason
then
I could
it's
think of,
be a judge that's going to be, appointed by them, or a judge that
yeah,
has worked cases for them before.
yeah,
They all work in cahoots anyway.
no, they do. The only other thing I could think of is because of my, again, I may or may not agree with all my issues or conditions that's written down why I collect a check every month, but that might be the reason that they made a bigger deal of it. But then I don't know. That's the
Nah,
only other
but
thing I could
still.
think of. I agree. I'm just trying to think of another reason, but otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm just, I'm thinking like I've learned to be open about this, but I got diagnosed with Tourette's at 6.
Oh wow.
I
Okay.
was in a deep, deep depression with some suicidal thoughts at 14, but I just got into, yeah, just, a therapy group, therapeutic daycare stuff. I don't know what it's called in English, but basically I was there 5 days a week, and it was 4 hours of school and 2 hours of therapy, and like very, very intensive. I was home on on the weekends, but still that was at least a year plus of my life that I was in some very intensive therapy because I was utterly depressed at 14 years old. But I wasn't taken from my house. I wasn't taken away from my parents.
Right.
Hell, my brother, my younger brother, you know, God rest his soul, he eventually didn't manage to conquer his own demons. Um, but like at also at 12, 13, he was incredibly depressed, and he didn't get taken away. My sister most certainly had her issues. I mean, growing up with two older brothers who, both had their issues, of course she's
Right.
gonna have issues. Um, she didn't get taken away, and we were much worse off, emotionally than just like, oh no, you're left alone at nights at 16 years old.
Right. Yeah, I have, oddly enough, it's funny you said that. Well, I mean, not funny, but you know what I'm saying. Another recent friend mentioned that in most situations, in general, they said they usually don't bother with anyone 16 or 17. Usually. I mean, there's exceptions, I'm sure, but so it does seem kind of odd. Now thinking of it, you're not the first to say that to me.
Because it is
I don't
odd.
know. Right.
I mean, 16, like you're well on your way in your teenage years. You're fully, in the middle of development, physically,
Right.
emotionally, psychologically. Like that is, at least in that period of your life,
Yeah.
that is fucking peak puberty. That is
Yeah.
peak teenage years.
Right. And I wasn't, not that I guess it matters, but I wasn't even, well, at least consensually, for the most part, wasn't even a virgin at that point. Like, I was
I
long
mean, yeah,
past
you
that.
were. I mean, I was sexually active at 16,
Yeah. I started when I was
and that
13, consensually that time.
I
Sorry, go
mean,
ahead.
whatever. It's
Yeah.
maybe a little young, but still, that's not something like that. 3 years later
Right.
should be an issue. Like, if it's gonna be an issue, it's gonna be an issue then, not three
Yeah.
years after.
Yeah. And no one directly knew about it. I mean, they know now, 30 plus years later, but they didn't know at the
I
time
mean, yeah, but
directly. Anyway, but yeah, exactly. I mean, keep in mind, our family was not rich, okay? Like, seriously. So, I
I mean, if your family was rich, you probably wouldn't have got taken.
probably not. That's the messed up part, probably not. But either way, so yeah, that's a good point. But it's like either way, we weren't like well-to-do or anything. I mean, granted, I didn't know Pauline and George Senior, my parents, but they wouldn't care about that. They just probably wouldn't believe me with the extracurricular shit. So,
I
and
mean,
me being
you
psychic
made
or yeah, yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah, you made ends meet, and
Right.
doesn't matter if you're well off or not. You should be getting equal treatment. And
I agree.
I know you're not. I know, the poorer
Yeah.
families, or those, let's say from lower middle class downward,
Yeah.
are the ones who are victimized most often,
Absolutely.
because the richer you are, you know the less people care.
Absolutely.
Because also then you have money to sue,
Yeah. I don't got
which
that.
which I know in America is, is a is a thing,
Oh, it
very much a
is.
thing. You're very, very sue happy. My wife always kills me when I say that, like, "Ah, y'all American." I'm European. I can say that, okay?
Yeah. No, no. No, I get it. And I agree. You're not wrong.
Oh, are you still actively trying to get the documentation?
Here and there, it's just I mean, it's nice to know that at least there's a slight possibility. So if that was enough for me, but now after this show, in a good way, I might have to at least start writing them. The worst they're gonna say is no. Whoop de doo at this point. I'm used to no. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, you've got no for 28 years. So what's another
Right.
no?
You're right, because something ain't right with this more than it already was previously. Because, like, why? I mean, they gave me an excuse over the phone why they would do it with a 16-year-old or whatever. But
I
now
mean,
thinking
I
about
I get
why,
it, at 16 years old, or like even at 18 years old, that they don't want to give you that documentation. I understand, even though at
right?
18 you're, well, legally supposed to be an adult, which, I mean, yeah, legally, don't I thought I was an adult at 18. I thought I was so grown up, and then I discovered, what grown-ups have to do and not do, and I was like, I don't want to be a grown up.
Yeah,
Uh,
I was all right with it at that point, but maybe for different reasons. But yeah, I get it.
okay, yeah, sure. But
But I
like,
get what you
I
mean,
get
though.
not wanting to, provide the documentation at that point, at that age, when, especially when everything is still, well, fresh, if you will, like you just got out.
Right, even though I was
Of
making
course,
complaints
then,
anyway.
reading all about it, and, in all the details that could be scarring. That I can understand that.
Yeah,
But for 28 years, for multiple decades, going on almost 3 decades, to give you bullshit answers, or to just tell you, like, oh no, like, you got to do this and got to go through that, and cut this red tape and go through those people. I mean, that's no longer. I'd say that's no longer incompetence. That's actively hiding it.
right. And I've been making complaints on and off for years since I was 18. Not that they did anything, they just kept making excuses. Said we didn't do anything basically to you. They didn't say like, but that's basically what they said.
Yeah,
We
we
never
didn't
did
do
anything to you.
nothing. Fuck off. Yes, you did.
Yeah, exactly. Or well, they don't really. Well, the one number I called, they didn't know David, so they didn't really defend him. Luckily, but because that would have just PO'd me more.
Uh,
But he said, well, I'm like, and I mentioned why. What was the big rush? I was 16 going on 17. Why was a big rush to get to what? He said, well, they tried to give an example of like, putting someone in a home right away without investigating. Give me some lame excuse. I can't remember what it was anymore. But the point is, they just bypassed the fact they kept saying I was a child at 16. Well, okay, let's say you're right. Then you're kind of proving my point either way then. Now looking at it, that you should have investigated. If you want to call me a child so much at 16, well, then you're actually proving my point. You should have investigated. You should have made sure I was going to a decent home. You should have did X, Y,
Yeah.
Z. So actually, you kept calling me a child, even though I kept saying I was a minor. You're actually proving my point. Actually,
I mean, investigating that you're going to a good home. I'd
right,
say first of all, investigating if
right,
the situation that you are currently in is indeed bad enough that you should be placed into another home.
right, right.
And
Exactly.
if the situation is that bad, maybe get help first.
Right.
Some family therapy or whatever, and not like right away get the child out and put them fucking somewhere.
When I was in hillbilly country or Texas, in case people don't know what I'm talking about, I never was checked on it from Texas CPS. Oh no, no, no,
But
yeah, no, no, no. I was never checked on through CPS at all through Texas, to my knowledge. Meaning, I would think I remember some vague detail of it, even if, I know memories degrade after 30-something years, but no, there's never a time where I talked to anyone from CPS or CPS in hillbilly country, aka Texas, aka, I'll be more specific, Bedford, in the Dallas, Texas area. No one ever checked on me. And their lame excuse in New Jersey said, well, somehow there was a mistake in the drop off or whatever they said. And, you know, and basically just making some cheap excuse and not taking responsibility for the mess up, basically, in plain English.
I mean, I know, on the state level, on the federal level,
Hmm.
communication between the states isn't always
Yeah.
perfect, but that is rather negligent.
Yes, it is.
New Jersey says take them out, and
Yeah.
Texas says, welcome, and that's it. No,
Yeah.
no checking up, even though apparently the situation was so worrisome,
Hmm.
but no further checking up needed because, miscommunication.
Yeah. Hmm. So
Okay.
yeah. And as another side story, when I was trying to walk the, Moonface girl house, aka Lisa, back when I was talking to the heifer before I lived with her, which was another mistake. I tried to walk to the Dallas area. Not the best idea. I don't recommend it, y'all. But what did I know? I was 17. You know, and I figured, it was hot as hell. And I didn't want to be near the abuser because he was there that day. So I tried to walk to, you know, Moonface girl's house, and I figured I didn't want to walk anymore and I got tired. So I figured, let me lay on the ground because it was hot out. I figured I'd draw a cop to me. Turns out I was right. And they called Stacy, and Stacy was trying to tell them that I was younger mentally than I really was and all this other stuff. And she tried to get the cops to lie to me, even though I knew better. Say, oh, I have to go with her. I have to live with her. No, I don't. I already talked to somebody. I know at 17 I can pick where I want to live in hillbilly country. But yeah, so she tried to get the popo to lie to me. Yeah, that didn't work. So that was real fun.
Well, it all sounds shady as fuck, and that's that. I mean, that is expressing it lightly.
Yeah, exactly. Now, let me, if I may, I hope we have some time. Let me fill in some of the other mystical gaps because I know I kind of mentioned them, but I went to the other stuff and I know, and I need to get
Um,
to. Do we have time? If I quickly
it's
go over it,
well, it's been 2.5 hours. Maybe we'll save that
that's fine.
for a part two,
Yeah,
because I
that's
mean
fine.
this is a hell of a story, and
Yeah,
I think this is gonna have to be multiple parts.
yeah, probably. I tried to put too many in one day. I'm sorry, but I had to.
We'll be here all night.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But yeah, thank you for
You're very welcome.
sharing this. This is a wild story. Holy shit, man.
Yeah, imagine if I just left out the mystical stuff. But I had to mention at least a good amount. I had to because it was part of the story. I'm sorry, it
Oh,
was.
I want to talk about that, but we've been
Okay.
going on for 2.5 years. No,
Feels like it.
jeez, it feels like that.
No, it do. It do. It do. And I lived it. So imagine how I feel.
It's sus. It is so sus,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, looking at it.
nothing of it makes sense. Nothing of
It
it
don't.
adds up. And I for one, I hope you'll get answers one day, someday,
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah, I hope so.
I mean, it's been 28 years, but you know, you're still trying. So
Yeah.
you clearly haven't given up hope yet, although I can imagine it feeling very futile.
A little bit. I mean, the only blessing besides my children, my grandchildren, and finding out Pauline and George Sr. are my parents, which we can go over next time, at least I know I can't get sued so easily, if at all. So that kind of helps.
I mean, it's a silver lining.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's something.
Yeah. It is something. That's for sure.
It
Or at
ain't
least it'd
much,
be
but
very
it's
hard to
something.
sue me. So they'd have to provide discovery, from what I understand, if they sue me.
Yeah, and gonna have to, at least to the judge, provide the documents that you have been asking for,
Yeah.
which would make them at least semi-public, because I do believe that you have the right to, you know, at least see the evidence against you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a way. It's not the best way. Anyway, let's just hope that
Yeah.
eventually bureaucracy kinda, you know, like that you make your way through the swamp.
I hope so.
It's a hell of a swamp.
It is.
Damn. Well, let's take it as a cautionary tale, and you know, proof once again of that you shouldn't trust the government.
No.
You know, some of the scariest words that you can hear. We're from the government and we're here to help you.
Yeah.
Fucking run. They're not gonna help you. They're gonna help themselves. Anyway, we definitely have plenty for part 2, or at least part 2 of the recording. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for sharing your story and for sharing this, well, cautionary tale also. And I guess last but not least, where can the good people find you if they want to hear more of you, if they want to hear more of the, well, the gossip and the stories?
Well, let's see. My show is now you can reach me on TikTok at Witch Dragon, how I spell it, WICTH Dragon DB, or my other backup is Witch Dragon, just Witch Dragon. So there you go. And then, of course, if you want to check out the Spotify podcast, One Drunk Ho podcast, just look at One Drunk Ho podcast, and you should theoretically find me there. At least theoretically, they get weird with the links sometime, in my opinion, but at least theoretically, it's there somewhere in Spotify. But either way, probably the easiest is to find me on TikTok. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to part 2, where we'll get into more of the mystic stuff, which will be a Across the Pond Grammar Pagans collaboration in a way, since, you know, on the Grammar Pagans, we're all about the mystic stuff. So to my lovely audience, or our lovely audience, across the pond, multiple, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. I'm sorry that my cam buggered off about halfway through. I've been having some technical issues, but I'll figure that out. You can find Across the Pond on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Just look for Across the Pond Podcast or Across the Pond UK. If you're watching this on YouTube, is the youtube.com/at Across the Pond YT. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and leave something nice in the comments. And do be nice in the comments. We do read them. I mean, I may be Dutch and I may be blunt, but hey, you know, be nice. Come on. We're nice people. Supposed to be nice people. If you're listening to this on Spotify, do please give us that 5-star rating. It is a small effort, but helps us out so much. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcast, leave us a review. That'd be great. And for more on Across the Pond, find us on Instagram and TikTok at Across the Pond UK, or just, you know, search for Across the Pond and look for our logo. We are the one, the only, the true Across the Pond. So thank you all very much for watching. Thank you all very much for listening. Again, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you all. We will talk to you all next time with another amazing guest, amazing story. as we always provide for you. Have a good day, evening, or night, whatever it may be to you. And until then, bye bye.